Scream 6 sees the rebooted franchise's core four, as they refer to themselves, plus Courtney Cox and another quote-unquote legacy character, do a Home Alone or Jurassic Park and go to New York City for a sequel. Melissa Barrega's Sam and Jenny Ortega's Tara are again the lead characters, as a spate of Ghostface-inspired murders suggests that the Woodbury past they look to move away from has followed them to NYC. And so begins another round of meta horror that in typical Scream style sees our characters speculate about their plight in real time, using slasher movie tropes as their guide to solve the whodunit at the core of it. Ironically, a week after I spoke about how Creed 3 became the first Rocky franchise movie without Sylvester Stallone, this is the first Scream movie not to feature the previous lead, Neve Campbell, whose absence is explained away meekly after she chose not to reprise her role following a contract dispute. While I thought it was weird of a Creed movie to just not mention where Rocky is, this also felt a bit clunky and tacked on for the sake of it. So I'm not actually sure what the best approach for franchises to handle this is, and I feel like it's something that's going to keep coming up. You may notice that I'm saying the word franchise a lot, and Scream does the exact same thing to try and subvert our expectations about what's going to happen. It's explained that since their plight was now at franchise level, legacy characters like Cox were in severe danger, and even the lead characters weren't safe of either being killed or indeed being the killer. It's an admirable swing that I'm not sure the film actually lands. It does live up to the promise of having an outcome somewhat unusual for these type of movies, but maybe that's not the result of incredible realism or a new kind of twist on a franchise concept. Maybe that outcome doesn't happen a lot for a particular reason. And this isn't a bad movie by any means. The Ghostface scenes in particular are incredibly tense and feel really polished, while also remaining for somewhat fresh 6 movies in. Directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette have a good understanding of what makes a central villain work and how to tease those sequences out. And there's 2 scenes in particular that I think of. The first one I think everyone will love is the ladder scene. I won't give any more details on that. And the second one is the convenience store scene, which I found fresh as well, because again, they just introduced guns to the fray. And the thing that bothers me about Scream movies is, what if someone just gets a gun? He literally just has a knife. I know he's a slasher, but why does someone just not try and take his head off with a shotgun? And this kind of addresses that too. As a whole, though, the movie is fine at best. Of Scream 5, I said that one day these ultra-meta, self-referential franchise reboots, see also the likes of The Matrix Resurrections, may get old, but that wasn't that day. But you know what? Maybe a year later, it is that day. I don't mind so much when characters start bearing the potential scenarios that can occur to openly discuss and stir up how the audience feels about the motives behind potential suspects. I'm also fine when the characters start riffing about various classic horror movies. There's one discussion in particular where 2 characters trade notes to compare each other's horror credentials and agree that the original Nightmare on Elm Street is the best, the original and remakes of Candyman are equally good, and disagree on the Friday the 13th series highlights. That's all fine and relatively entertaining, but we've seen it done in Scream movies now a million times, to the point that I don't feel it actually adds much value to the story now, or there's much left to actually play out. And you may turn around and say, well, what are Scream movies if characters don't get to have the discussions like these? And I'd actually agree with you there. 6 movies is a really good run, though, and it's fair to consider that when it's getting to kind of the Cobra Kai level of cameo, where it's like, oh, so this guy is actually the 3rd cousin of a villain revealed in a limited edition comic book series. It might be time to quit while they're ahead, is what I'm trying to say. If you're a Scream superfan, and one thing that I've actually learned from the requel season is showing me that there are those out there, this is perfectly acceptable additional content that either adds or ruins anything. If you're like me and you're more going out of a sense of obligation because you grew up in the era where the Scream fans kind of formulated what kind of horror fan you were, you won't find this a waste of time, but you probably will be left hungry for some fresher material. And I think what really bothered me here is that the film opened with a glimpse of what that fresher material may look like, when at the end of an otherwise familiar seeming opening Scream sequence, the killer is actually unmasked. And then just as I started to imagine what a Scream movie would look like where we actually knew the killer's identity, but the characters didn't, it's revealed to be a fake out as the main plot took over and proceeded to be a way more formulaic Scream movie. And I think one thing the conversations about franchises missed at is, well, that we do like the traditional beats and familiarity that drew us to a series. To stay alive, a franchise needs to sometimes experiment boldly with new genres or concepts. And that's what this didn't do, even though I feel like they're convinced that they did. What happened here was they gave us just another Scream movie instead of giving us a brand new Scream movie.